Huh? Okay. And welcome to happens to be, I'm not going to say special, there's nothing special about the show, it's just the fact that we are recording it today on a Saturday, which is Christmas Day, and the year end is coming up. But this is the latest episode of Nadi Digital Economy Malaysia. And with me is my partner in crime, Dzof Azmi. Dzof, sorry if I'm describing you as my partner in crime, because I'm going to use the B word shortly, for one of the segments we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Not because of me. Just to clarify.
I will fully
just to clarify, not because of me.
I will explain who or at least the credibility of the person saying that, right? Anyway, we've got a number of stories to talk about, and it is not a heavy week as expected, but still there's some very interesting stories, and we're going to get right into it now. And we're going to start off with the fact that Coursera, which is of course very popular in Malaysia and probably in many countries around the world, they actually did a study, because they've got all these data points, right? Obviously, now their Asia Pacific MD was talking about the rise of STEM courses among women in Malaysia, right? Very interesting. So, which is healthy sign for any country, right? Not just for Malaysia, where if you suddenly have a particular segment of your population showing more interest in STEM, of course, the base is slow, and I don't know what in Malaysia, literally, I think only 1/3 of students also go into STEM courses, if even that high. And I think it's skewed towards males versus women. But here you at least see now women more interested in being, interested in pursuing careers and excelling in STEM professions, and which has huge demand. And we're going to give you a sense of that. So basically, Raghav Gupta says that enrollment among, and there's some data points here, women learners in Malaysia has increased from 29% in 2019 to a significant 36%, right? And he's citing a Women and Skills Report 2021, which of course is their report. So from 29% to 36%, they call it significant. To me, 7% is not significant. It's definitely a healthy development, and hopefully you see a lot more going on. But what was interesting is that because there's huge, incredible demand for technical skills all over the world, he says that something that all tech entrepreneurs already know. Location has been, which used to be central to choice of opportunities and in the labor market, in drawing high-skilled people, is gone, right? The world is truly flat. That author from New York Times, right, who wrote the book, The World is Flat. Dzof, do you remember his name? His name skips my mind now.
No, I'll have to look it up right now.
Thomas Friedman. Right, he wrote the book like 10 years ago, at least or more. Said the world is flat, but truly COVID has made the world flat. And anyway, because of this now, the notion of remote work is so common. And he says that women who have these strong technical skills can literally work for anyone, anywhere in the world without leaving their desktop or without leaving their rooms, right? Which is very scary for Malaysian companies, which would entrepreneurs cheer the fact that more women are getting into STEM, hoping that they can then have a bigger talent pool to apply from. But because the talent now can work for anyone, it doesn't mean that it'll translate to more talent available for Malaysian-based companies. Dzof, I think you wanted to say something about this.
Yes. Yeah, just to say that even this is my person, like 10 years ago, 11 years ago, we already discussed this issue. We could see it on the horizon. And the fact of the matter is, what COVID has done is it's normalized working from home. It has normalized learning from home. You're seeing these women getting certified. A lot of them probably dropped out of the workforce because of COVID, because of the MCO. And now they're thinking about getting back into the workforce. And because they're getting their certification online on their own, as opposed to what perhaps before the company would give them these courses to get certification on. What you're going to see is that there's going to be this natural progression to looking for work that is also online, that is also work from home. As I said, Karam, earlier, if you have a choice between a Malaysian company that pays you in Malaysian ringgit and wants you to work at the office, and a company, say in Singapore, that's paying you in Singapore dollars and say you can work from home, I think it's going to be a no-brainer.
It is absolutely a no-brainer. And what is scary is, yesterday I was talking to somebody and he said that, okay, that's the case. We can look to Indonesia to hire, implying that you can hire cheap in Indonesia. But here is the scary news. I spoke to two founders. One is Malaysian-based. Another one is based out of Singapore. And both of them told me that top technical talent in Indonesia is now charging in US dollars. So if you think you can hire cheaply in Indonesia, maybe that's at the fresh graduate level. But if you want experienced, good talent, Indonesian tech talent is already charging the services in US dollar, which is frightening when you are a ringgit-based revenue company, correct? If you are Sing dollar-based revenue company, not so bad. And even in Singapore now, by the way, this founder who's Singapore-based told me that whose father happens to be Malaysian, and he was, but he's not Malaysian because he was born overseas. And that may be too much information for you, but just clarifying that. He says that fresh graduates in Singapore now with technical skills are being paid 4,000 Sing dollars, 12,000 ringgit off. Can you imagine? And the CEO of one company here told me that they are planning to hire 50 software engineers next year, which is next week. They plan to hire over the year 50 software engineers. And then I asked him how much you planning to pay. So he said, let me get back, check with my HR. And he said they're planning to pay between 8,000 to 12,000 ringgit, right? For this, to get these 50 software engineers. But can you imagine if you're a fresh guy in Singapore is earning 12,000, that means that you can only hire these engineers, right, from Malaysia, obviously, where if you're paying that much, you're very competitive, and maybe in Philippines or Vietnam and maybe Indonesia, I don't know. But that's crazy, right? How the cost of technical talent, forget about a whole world, just within ASEAN itself, is already escalating to a ridiculous level, man. It is. I think the next trend is going to be that founders are going to ask their moms and their siblings, right, and their parents, right, mom and dad, to learn coding. Because hey, I plan to launch my own startup in 6 months. Mom, dad, please go and start learning on Coursera, or wherever Udemy. Just basics 101 of Python or R, right? It will really help me a lot, right? You heard it here first on Nadi, man.
Okay, we should move on to the next story, Karam.
Okay, all right.
Yes, for those of you that use MySejahtera, some of you would have seen over the last week or so a notification for something called MySJ Trace, which is a Bluetooth enabled contact tracing. Now, not everyone has it. I don't have it on my phone, for example. But the idea is that if you are using this MySJ Trace, you turn your Bluetooth has to be on all the time.
All the time.
It will enable two things. One is that it will enable automatic checking in, checking out as you go in and out of shops, and it will sort of detect that you're in the shop and then check you in, and then when you've left, it check you out, which is people have been checked into swimming pools and whatnot, like overnight. This is the story I see, right, when people are using the MySejahtera.
Yeah.
But the second thing it will do is it will also do proximity information. So it will keep a record of other users that are in close contact with you. And if one of those users happen to be COVID positive later, you will get a notification that you were close by or kind of close or nearby this person for a certain period of time. So that is just part of, it's not something that's new technologically. It's been used in other countries. I think Singapore has something similar as well, using hardware dongles as well. But as they're beginning to roll this out, we're beginning to see, Karam, some conversations about privacy and the like. So going to see where this moves on to. I think it's a promising development with a lot of scope.
But I am paranoid about leaving my Bluetooth on all the time. So I got to overcome. Yes. And if you are savvy, like you and me, and you have a reason why you don't leave your Bluetooth on or seldom use it, right? The only time my Bluetooth used to be on was when I want to open up my Soka or Goka, right? You use Bluetooth. But maybe this is an incentive for you, right, to change your behavior around Bluetooth. So, you never know. But it's interesting. I think what would be cool is maybe 3 months or 6 months down the road, at least 3 months, 100 days, right? Ask MySejahtera KPIs off and see how many people they find are using this feature. So that'll be interesting. But anyway, let's move on now. To the fact that mostly, so the government is now, because it's been caught flat-footed and caught with its pants down, or no, it's been getting a royal digital spanking from many angry netizens out there, angry and very angry netizens. And I don't have to tell you about it. You've seen all the videos, right, if you want to. So Ministry of Science and Technology has said that they are, together with some of our drone companies, they have actually brought them together and mobilizing drones, right, for flood recovery and delivery of critical supplies also. And they've actually partnered with a number of drone companies, and I'll just mention them, which is, and some you may not be familiar with, which is the V-Stream, Alpha Swift, Aerodyne, of course, everybody knows, Meraki Services, Geoprecision, and Malaysian Unmanned Drone Activist Society, MUDAS. So I'm one like, society and 4 drone companies, and they're all doing good work, trying to make sure that there's enough support needed. And because with drones, then you get real-time intelligence and data, correct, in what's going on. So, and together with TPM and, Zulairai chipped in to say that we wanted to support those in the front lines, right, with relief work. And through this task force, we're trying to provide them with the, with whatever help they can get. So now let's move on, because this is, sorry, go ahead, Dzof.
I just want to say that I feel that the fact that they can just cobble this together relatively quickly demonstrates how mature the drone industry is.
Oh, yeah. Hey, our drone industry is world leading, right? And make no bones about this. The fact that we got a world leader, right, in Aerodyne, and then you got Polar Drone and a few others, OFO Tech also, right, which are top 30 in the world. We have a very, very high level of drone companies here. So make no bones about that. Now, in terms of you doing delivery also, that's good data point. These the drones that are doing delivery can take a payload of up to 10 kilograms per delivery, which is actually quite a lot. So they're well done to all of them. Now, because this is about a government, ministry, right, authority trying to help, something that caught my attention that infuriated me. Is the article I saw where our Secretary General of the Environment and Water Ministry, Dato Engineer Dr. Zaini Ujang, was on Bernama TV, and he says that they were able to utilize 2 pieces of innovation. Okay, he described them as innovation to help ease the flood problem, which although still took 6 days to solve. One of the innovations is that the flood water, right? The floods was finally able, this thing called, he used the word pooling, P-O-O-L-I-N-G. For many of us, it just means the water, flood retention pond, not water, flood retention pond. And in Malaysia, we tend to use disused mining pools where we'll empty them. And then if there ever is a need, right, runoff from overflow from rivers will be channeled into these ponds where they retain, and then they slowly, evaporate or dispersed out later. This is something that's been around for at least 2 decades all over the world. And I must repeat his name, right? Must give him full credit, because Dr. Zaini Ujang seems to think that this is an innovation. And thanks to the work of the Department of Irrigation and Drainage and the National Hydraulic Research Institute. So they seem to be doing this cutting edge research, which of course the rest of the world has been adopting for 20 years, and nobody calls it innovation. And the second piece of innovation is this evaporator innovation, where this water, of course, is in the same areas, right? This pooling, let's give him credit and use his term, pooling areas, locations. And you are then, what you're doing is that you're forcing the water to transition from liquid to vapor using high capacity water pumps. So how you're going to get these high capacity water pumps, which need a lot of power to get to these pooling areas, and which are normally, remember, disused mining pools are not next to your Seng Heng or next to your UEM showroom or whatever, where you got ready, water, electricity supply, right? So he's claiming this lah. And I spoke to a full professor of a leading university, and as soon as I told him about this pooling, he cut me short and he said, bullshit. I'm not kidding you. Those were his terms. And even my own word would have been, what rubbish is this, right? For this Secretary General to go on TV to claim that these 2, techniques they're using are considered innovation. And my only reason for him doing that is probably to give him credit. Maybe the poor fellow was pressurized by the minister to say, hey, we got to show them that this government is leadership. We're leading the way. We've got innovation. We're helping the poor rakyat. And it really pissed me off, right? Because even then, you're thinking that a fair amount of people on the receiving end of that broadcast are so gullible, are so bodoh, that they think, wow, we are using innovation to help relieve the flood problem, right? Although it took 6 days. So I'm glad the full professor came out and called both of those bullshit, use of the word innovation. So that's all I'm going to say about that, Dzof, because I want to hold him to task for and embarrassing all professionals out there who are in this field, right? And for thinking that the Malaysian public is bodoh. I think, Dzof, you don't want to add anything, right?
No, not really. I would want to go to the next story, which is the story published.
Okay, wait, let's go. Thanks for leaving me. Thanks for leaving me hanging me to dry off alone. Okay.
No, I really don't know what I can add to that. Really.
Okay, fine.
I mean, there's an interview with the co-founder of Alpro Pharmacy, Dr. Hugh Fei Song, and he was talking about the rise of e-pharmacy or the potential for e-pharmacy in Malaysia. So I think what's interesting, Karam, is that there are 25,000 registered pharmacies in Malaysia, 3,000 registered retail pharmacies. Annual revenue is 8 billion ringgit, but by and large, there are a brick and mortar industry right now.
No surprise there. Okay, so what's the story here?
And the doctor says that Alpro does do some degree of delivery, like e-commerce in their pharmacy business, but it contributes 5% or slightly over 5% of their revenue at the moment. And they think it can still grow to be a lot more. He does point to a couple of issues, right? The adoption rate, he says, are really slow. He says the problem is that some people doubt the authenticity of they feel more comfortable going to the pharmacy to buy stuff rather than ordering it online, because they don't know whether it's authentic or not.
Yes.
Fair. He says that most pharmacies don't have sufficient knowledge because it's like the E part of it is missing. And he says that he's concerned about the regulatory framework because he feels it's not clear right now that the regulatory framework is built up for physical shops, right? And not electronic commerce. And I think these are actually very good observations. And I think what's even more promising is that at least in terms of ambition, it's quite high. They want to really push forward this.
Excellent. And this was an interview. This was a story in the Edge markets. Okay, great. So all of you out there, enjoy your Christmas, dinner, and be safe. And then we'll look forward to seeing you again next week. And please comment on and like our video on YouTube and share it. And we'll come back to you with more relevant digital economy news next week.